Hey guys, it's Gary here. Today I'm going to be doing a Java program, and what this Java program is going to do is we are going to generate a random number between 1 and 10. Then we're going to have the user guess the number between 1 and 10, and we're going to give them feedback on their guesses. So if they guess 5 and the random number is 8, we're going to say, hey, your guess is too low. If they guess 8 and the number was 5, we're going to say your guess is too high, and if they get it, we're going to tell them they won the game. So first thing we need to do is need to declare our variables. So they're going to all be integers because we're dealing with whole numbers. So we'll need a variable for the loop. It's going to be I. We'll need to take in how many guesses they want. So that's going to be num guesses. We need to take in the user's guess, and then we need to generate the random number. So there are variables there. First thing I want to do, I'm going to generate the random number. So how we're going to do that is we're using the math.random function. So that's why we've imported the random from the java.util. There is one problem with the math.random, but I'll just tell you that in a second when we've got the line of code typed out that shows why it's a little weird. But just new random. So we'll say the random number is equal to, we're casting it to an integer because the user's guess is going to be whole numbers. It's not going to be decimal points. It's not going to be guessing 5.4 or 5.3. They're just going to be guessing 5 or 6. They're going to be whole numbers. So we need to cast the random number to an integer to do that. So with the math.random function, let's star 10 plus 1. Now the reason why math.random is a little weird is because we want to generate the random number between 1 and 10. So why are we adding 1 here? Well, the reason why we're doing that is because in math.random, when it generates the random number, if the number is 9.8, you'd think it would round to 10, but it doesn't. It rounds down to 9. So math.random always will round down. So you're never going to get 10 because it's always going to be 9.7, 9.8, 9.9, and it's never going to be equal to 10. So what we need to do is we need to add 1. So now those 9.8s and 9.9s are now 10.8s and 10.9s. That means when it rounds down, we're going to get the random number 10 instead of 9. So that's the little weird thing with math.random. It's always rounds down, so you need to add 1 to the number you actually want. So the next thing we need to do is we need to tell the user that we've generated the random number. So you say system.out.println semicolon, and we just tell them the random number has been generated. So now the user knows, well, the random number I've been generated is here. The random number I'm going to be guessing against has been generated. So what we need to do after that is we need to take in how many guesses they need to get the random number. How many guesses do they think they can do it in? So we're going to take in the number of guesses. So for that, I'm going to use, I copied and pasted the println, so I'm not typing it out all the time. We're just going to do print because we're not going to skip into the next line, because then when you're entering that number, it's going to skip down to the next line instead of staying at the end of it. So we're going to say enter the number of guesses you want. And then we need to take that into the variable num guesses. So num guesses, make sure you spell it wrong because then it'll give you errors. Make sure you don't spell it wrong. Equals console dot next int. So we're taking in their guess into the variable called num guesses, and that's going to be taken into an integer. So it says console, hey, take that number from the console and store it as an integer into the variable num guesses. So now that we've taken in the number of guesses they want, we're going to use that in the for loop to as a condition of how many times we want to loop round. So now we need to take in the user's guess and compare it to the random number. So like I said, we're going to need a for loop for this. I'll work with an idea to open the bracket before closing it. What I like to do is I like to do /for here so that I can see that the closing bracket for the for loop is here. Closing bracket for the main is here. It just helps to keep track of the curly brackets. So the condition for the for loop, like I said, is going to be the number num guesses. So we need to say for I equals 0. If I is less than num guesses, I increment I, so add 1 to I. So inside our for loop now, what we need to do is we need to ask the user to enter their guess. So we're going to say we want them to enter the guess for the random number, so enter or guess. And then we're going to take their guess into the variable user guess. So that's equal to console.nextInt. So now we've taken in their guess into console.nextInt, and then what we need to do then is we need to compare their guess to the random number. So I'm going to do if here, and then we're going to go, so if the user guess is less than the random number, we are going to tell the user that your guess is lower than the none. Maybe that's not the best way to word it. We'll go with your guess is too low. I'm going to keep it simple. We're not going to go into the random number which has been generated is higher than your guess or anything like that. Keep it easy for the user. Just tell them that guess is too low. So then we're going to check then. So say if the number is greater than the random number, we want to say that their guess is too high. So that's why we need the else if. So we're going to say else if the user guess is greater than the random number, we're going to tell them that their guess was too high. So your guess is too high. And if their guess is not less than the random number and it's not greater than the random number, well then it has to be the random number. So we're going to say else if if the user guess is equal to the random number, we're going to tell them that they've won the game. You have won. Yay, they've won. So what we're going to need to do then is we're going to need to set I to a high number. And the reason why we do this is the condition for the for loop is the number of guesses that they need. So if the number is between 1 and 10, they're not going to need, if they do it right, they're not going to need more than 10 guesses, and they'd have to be really unlucky to do that. Which means that if we set I to a very high value, like 99,999, they're not going to need 99,999 guesses, so they're not going to enter 99,999 into the num guesses. So that will be the condition to exit the for loop, whether when I is a high number, which means that we're going to set it to that, so that when it goes up here and checks, is I less than the number of guesses that they asked for? Well, I is so high that it has to be. Well, that's not less than, is it? That would be greater than. No, yeah, if num guesses is greater than, excuse me. So that should work. Continue with my evaluation. So we're going to run the program here. Enter the number of guesses you want. I want 5 guesses. Enter my first guess. I'm going to guess the number 6. That guess is too low, so the guess is higher than 6, so I'm going to say 8. That guess is too high. So if it's not 6, if 6 is too low and 8 is too high, the answer is going to be 7. So I've won the game. So that is the Java program. That's the random number guessing game. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you continue to enjoy the blog posts. Gary signing out.